Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 63. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Today's guest, this is going to be a really cool conversation for me because almost anybody that I come across, whether it's in a hockey dressing room or my family or people in the neighborhood, I'm always talking about this guy. So to get him on camera, to hear his story is going to be really fascinating for me. So go ahead, name and who you are.
My name is Danny Savino, and I'm a stonemason and pizza maker.
So the pizza maker part is the reason that you and I are connected. Mm-hmm. Danny's got a little joint down the street from me. We're literally neighbors, and the pizza coming out of his place is mind-altering. I had some on Friday, and when I discovered what he was doing and how good it was, I was like, holy shit, it's mind-altering. So anyways, shout out for the pizza because it's ridiculous. So
Thanks,
the gist about this show is I like the guests to go back as far as they want to go. How they grew up, where they grew up, your inspirations, how your parents were involved with you, what you were doing as a youngster. And then we're going to kind of weave our way to where you are today. We'll talk about the masonry work, and we'll talk about the pizza, and then we'll talk about everything in between. So take it back, where you grew up, how you grew up, what you're into back then, and then I'm just going to drag you along.
Okay. All right. Well, I was born in Saskatoon, and I'm the youngest of 9 kids.
9?
9, yeah. Yeah, 7 sisters and 1 brother.
Come on, man.
Yeah, that's a big family. And if you're going to be in a family like that, being the last that's the primo spot to be in, right? You get treated quite nicely.
Because everyone else is screwed up and figured everything out.
The oldest one is the boss, and the youngest one just gets treated, with kid gloves. Even at this age, I still get treated quite nicely.
Do you, was your, extended family, was there big families? Cousins, were there giant families like yours?
We were one of the bigger ones. There was one other family that had 10 kids, yeah. But we lived on Avenue L in Saskatoon, and my mother had 3 sisters. We all lived on Avenue L. So, and then there were a bunch, I don't know what it was about Avenue L, but there were a lot of Italian families that lived on that street. A lot of brick bungalows on that street.
What
avenue?
Was it did Saskatoon have Little Italy back then? And was
no, there were a lot of Italians that moved there in the 50s and 60s, but it's a small town, so you could find Italians everywhere, mostly on the west side of town.
Why'd your parents, did they come to Canada? Was that the start of it?
Okay. Yeah, just like the rest of them, they just all came over in the 1950s after the war. It was pretty tough in Italy, so yeah, they came over here for a better life. It's a great story. It's like a common story, but they were there. They were poor, and it was post-war Italy.
Yep.
You work your ass off every day, and at the end of the day, you could still have nothing. But you come here, Canada, God, it's like you just have to show up, and you'll have a good life,
Mm-hmm.
So they were hard workers and started their life here.
What'd they do when they got here?
Well, my dad was already a stonemason. I think he was probably 22, 23 when he came here.
Young.
Yeah, pretty young.
Yep.
And then my mother was already here because her sisters were here. You know how it goes, one brings over another one. And then, we got cool photos, old family photos of the black and whites where they just lived in a shack, a literal shack, like a door made out of 3 2x6s and a couple of pieces of wood.
Yeah.
It's
all these classic things, a dude like me that has not even close to this experience, but you see things in movies and you hear these pictures, these classic stories of people coming over and starting over, and it's you actually have it's in your blood.
Yeah. Yeah, the first house was 10 feet by 20 feet. It was really just a shack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you when they came over, oh no, obviously not, but how long have they been here when you were born?
They came over in 1956, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was born in 71.
Okay, so they were.
Yeah.
So by the time you showed up, they were established and working. But did your dad work for somebody, or was he doing his own thing?
When he came over, he got jobs as a stonemason. The U of S, University of Saskatchewan, is a beautiful campus.
Yep.
A lot of stone buildings. So I think one of his first jobs that he had when he came over was he made curling rocks, the granite curling rocks, carving them.
Yeah.
And then carving monuments for
Like
Headstones.
statues? Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
headstones.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then eventually, probably took them a year or two to get a job
Yep.
as a stonemason because they didn't speak English or anything like that, right? And
Can you imagine doing that? Like you and I think we have good days and bad days, right?
Yeah.
There's some tough things we got to figure out and maneuver, but I can't imagine what it's like to actually come to a country where you don't speak
with
the
a
language.
suitcase.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to figure shit out.
Yeah. And then, you get married right away. You got kids now. So they were hard workers. Like when they got jobs, once they were in, didn't matter what language you spoke. They were skilled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and his brother, both stonemasons.
So did he spend a lot of time working for other people, or did he?
They worked for others until about 1974, 75. Then the two of them started their own company, and they only had it for maybe 6 years, and then they were kind of already ready to retire, like physically.
Yeah, because
because
it's a manual job.
They started when they were children, like they were 12 years old when they started their apprenticeships. So by the time they were 18, they were like super skilled already. They had it going on.
Yeah. And their bodies, though, over all these years, it breaks down.
It's pretty hard to do that to a kid. It's hard, heavy work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you show up on the scene, what does the world look like, for you when you were a youngster? What were you involved with? I can't imagine being the youngster of 9 and trying to figure shit out.
Well, it was a big table, right?
Yeah.
It was a big dining table. We ate as a family every night, like every night at 6 o'clock. No matter what was going on, there was supper on the table.
Yeah.
You didn't know who's always going to be there, but
it
was a meal, and everyone caught up. And I sat between my mom and dad until I was, 8 or 9, because that was the only spot. And it was just like an event every night. It was just, there's so many people at the table, talking, reaching, eating off of other people's plates.
Classic Italian, eh?
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then Sunday lunches, it's a pretty common experience with in Italian families. But for me, it was like an opera every Sunday. You didn't know you didn't know if someone's going to get killed or it was going to be a comedy. And you could get all of it in one lunch, right?
And who was your mom the cook? Was she the grand master of it all?
Yeah, she would just wake up early Sunday morning, get that all going,
and the smells in the house every.
Yeah. And that's that you just said it there, the smell of waking up on that Sunday morning, thinking, oh, we get sauce today, but we also have to go to church. But after church, we get to eat.
And the only reason I say that is because, I grew up in Strathcona. My dad built a house up there in 81.
Okay.
And our neighbors were Italians, the Baffas. And the house is really close, and they open up their kitchen window. We just smell food on the weekends heavy, during the week heavy, and I was just I would salivate. And over all the years, they were our neighbors for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
we got to eat there, I don't even know, 3 times maybe, and I was just each time I could not believe what was actually getting dropped on the table. It was ridiculous.
Just 3 times in all those years.
And I might be...
You should have capitalized on that.
I totally missed. But that Sunday, it's just... Was it a tradition that they brought with them? Was it just something that had to happen? Where does that come from?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Every family that I know did that. I'm sure they did it. Sunday was the one day where you got to take it easy. You would go to church, and then late in the afternoon you'd have a nice meal with everybody where you didn't have to get up and go pick fruit or milk cows or whatever.
Work.
That was just a day for the family.
So what else were you doing back then? Were you into sports? Were you starting?
I like playing sports, so I was never really good at sports.
Yep.
But I liked hanging out with my friends and doing that stuff. I lived in an area where there's a lot of low-income housing. And we weren't in a low-income house, but I was surrounded by that. And I was always kind of jealous of them too, because they were really close together. All those kids were right there all the time. They all had cable, and I never had cable. I thought, we got this nice house, and I don't get cable. I don't think I saw cable television unless I went to my friend's house or until I was 13, I think. My dad broke down and got us
enough
cable.
Complaining.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, we had a lot of freedom when we were kids. We just left in the morning and came home.
Yep.
Make sure you're home for supper and
Yep.
maybe check in one time during the day, or if you're bleeding, come home.
And did your family like run in a pack? You know, if there's 9 of you, I guess the oldest is old by a long shot, so they're probably not around you. But like the younger 5, did you guys all hang out together, or was it kind of everyone had their group of friends and did whatever?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, if you're bored, at least there's always someone around. If there's no one to hang out, there's always someone to hang out with, right? Yeah. And we just, I don't know, we didn't have a lot of toys or bikes. You had to share bikes sometimes. I never had my own bike.
Yep.
You know, it was always, I had to snag someone else's. But, yeah.
When did you come to Calgary?
1999.
Oh, so it's still pretty. You're older.
Yeah.
I'm not saying old, but
yeah.
So what is what's going on in Saskatoon? So after you kind of, is there anything interesting or abnormal going on between like junior high and high school, or was it pretty like standard? Were you working? Did you start working in restaurants back then, or what?
No,
nothing.
No, high school was high school.
Yep.
You know, just regular stuff.
Yep.
And then I went to university for 4 years, studied engineering.
Okay.
And
got your degree and everything. Like
no, I didn't finish. I had just over a year to go, maybe let's say a year and a half.
Yep.
It wasn't for me. Like, I could do the work and stuff like that, but I'm just not built to sit.
Yep.
Like I was in terrible health during university, and because you just sat from like there would be days where you didn't see the sun.
Yep.
I was at school in the dark, and I went home in the dark.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy, right? So it wore me down. And then the last year was like, I was like, okay. I was just hanging out with my friends in arts and science and doing the, typical not so great university activities and whatever.
Yeah.
That was all kind of a blur. So I got away from that, and then I became a dad when I was pretty young. I was 22.
Okay.
So I had to like grow up and then decide what I wanted to do. Stone was always something I wanted to do, but my dad didn't want me to do that. Like they didn't want me to. They wanted me to have like an easier, nicer, professional kind of a life, right? But I loved going to work with them.
So you did growing up, like you were on job sites growing up with your.
Oh yeah. Like they used to drag me along when I was young, like 12, 13. I didn't really necessarily do too much, but kept me out of trouble, and I didn't really get paid.
They saved money.
Want money? What?
they saved on the babysitter or whatever it was.
But it was good because you learned a lot. Like you just learned how to do things. You learned how to handle a drill and a saw, and it makes you capable.
Yeah. Right? Did you from a young age, like 12?
I'm not saying I was like
no, but you were around job sites at a young age, and then as you get older, you're actually like summer jobs on these job sites, like you working.
Yeah, either for my dad. Yeah, mostly for my dad, or other Italians that they were all bricklayers or something like that, right? Yep. So I would work for them. They were mean dudes to work for.
Like, yeah, and again, me being like, without the background, but you think about strong Italian guys on a job site, it just feels like they'd be
like this tall.
Yeah, totally. Just like
I would be this tall and they would be this tall, and they're screaming up at me.
and even experiencing all that, you're in university about to pull the pin. You're like, I think I want to do something different.
Yeah,
and your mind went right there.
It was always there. Like my heart was like during university summers, I would go. They were always building something at the university. Yeah, and I would get jobs. Just standing at a bench all day cutting stone. Yeah, I loved it. Like I was just in my glory. The summer after grade 12, I was laying around the house a little bit, and my dad's like, "Oh fuck this, let's go." So he grabs me, and you bring your boots and gloves, and he got me a job right away because he knew the guys that were running this large job that was going on, and I that was like my first job away from him, And I stood at a bench all summer long, 2 months of just cutting corners, like cutting cornerstones. And like my left hand, because you miss all the time, you don't know what you're doing quite yet. And my left hand was just like a piece of hamburger. You didn't wear gloves because you have to be tough, right?
Obviously.
Yeah. Just the fancy fellas wore gloves, right? But yeah, oh man, I probably still have nerve damage in that hand.
Did you do you think it was just growing up in that environment that you were drawn to that? And then right beside that question is, did any of your siblings go down that path? Did they kind of go down the trade path?
No. No, the girls weren't going to do that. That's dirty, heavy work.
Yep.
And my brother, no, he's a computer guy.
So do you think you're just thinking about it because that was how you grew up and what you grew up around?
You know, that summer, this guy that used to work for my dad, he was running that job, and he said, he came down and looked at me, and it made me feel so good. And he's looking at my pile of corners that I had cut, and he goes, "Oh, this is in your blood." He goes, and I just felt, oh yeah, that's fucking right. That's in my blood. I love that. Yeah. So it was just nice. It was like a confirmation of
you're on the
something.
right path.
Yeah.
So what did it look like when you decide to go in on it? You drop out of university, start something, you go work for somebody, and then...
Yeah. Well, I was a little bit of a stay-at-home dad for a little bit because, like my former wife, she got a job. We lived in northern BC for a couple of years. That was where she got her first job. Yep. And then, so I would stay home with my daughter in the winters and have a lot of fun with her. And then I'd work in the summer I'd started my apprenticeship. So I worked in Kelowna a couple summers, Saskatoon a little bit, and then finished my apprenticeship here in Calgary. Okay. And then after being in Calgary 1 year, I just struck out on my own. And that was in 2000 and had a good run up until about 2012, I want to say 2011, 2012. The world broke in 2009, right? And then things were just slowly kind of
bumping along.
Yeah.
So you bounced around as you're taking, where was your program? Where were you?
Well, it was the first year it was in Vancouver and Surrey, Kwantlen College. And then the other 2 years were in Regina. Okay. Moose Jaw, Regina.
So what's the designation after you finish it?
Bricklayer.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a Red Seal.
Red Seal bricklayer.
Bricklayer, yeah. There's nothing for stone. Nobody teaches you stone in school. Like you just have to, it has to be in your blood. Yep. Or somebody has to teach you.
Trust you to do something.
Yeah. And when I moved to Calgary, I worked with a great guy. He was German, and he was just a great, great guy. Like, not that he taught me so much as I just got to watch him, you know?
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from him. And Germans were good to work for. Italians, I mean, you learned a lot too, but they were just so mean. Like
just hot, like the Italians were running hot all the time.
And Canadian bricklayers were drunks, like they were vicious. So if I had to go back, I think I would work for Germans again. They were quite nice.
So what brought you to Calgary? What was it in '99 that got you here?
The work.
So you're just looking for somewhere that was hiring, and this guy was, and you came?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I had a buddy that was working here, and he told me about Kurt, this fellow that I worked for, and he gave me his number. I called him up, and he said, "Yeah, come and try it out." So I had 2 kids at that time, living in Saskatoon. So I said, "Well, I'm going to go out." I came here I stayed here for 4 months by myself at some friend's place and worked. But I think I called my wife at coffee time that first day of work, and I said, we're moving.
No way.
This place is awesome. I went out to the job site. It was in the slopes. These guys are nice. I'm cutting stone. I'm having coffee break on the deck, like under construction, looking at the Rockies. It was beautiful. This guy's going to pay me some good money. I said, we got to go. We got to come here. So
what was that conversation like? Did she push back?
She was game. No,
good?
She was game. Yeah.
Just because
it's exciting.
Right.
It's exciting, right?
But a big change. How old were the kids back then?
Small. Yeah. 1 and 4.
Okay. So no school or anything weird. They're just...
No, they're easy kids. Kids just want to be with their parents. Yep. They don't care where they are.
Totally. So what does it look like then? So how long were you working? And then when did because you started your own thing, right?
Yeah.
So what does that transition look like from working for people to you doing your own thing?
Well, it was a little tricky at first. I had a partner. That was not a good situation. This guy was like a con artist, like right out of the movies. And so that lasted, we did one job together. Lasted about a week and a half.
How long did it take you to spin up your own business from when you got to Calgary?
Well, I worked for 1 year.
Yep.
And then it took about 3 months to get the business, like just get things together and get going. And then...
Did you know that's what you wanted to do? Like,
no, that wasn't in my plan. I expected to work for Kurt for several years because I just finished my apprenticeship. Like I wanted more experience. Like we were talking before about, working for someone and getting your knowledge that way. So I had to jump in with both feet. I just kind of got lured into starting a business. And in the end, I mean, it worked out great. Like, I don't regret doing that. It was pretty good.
What was the hardest part about starting it? You know, besides dealing with a con artist and getting rid of him,
Just getting contracts, because he had gotten all the work for us at that point, right? So when we split, I had nothing. So
what do you do? What's your first move when you get put in that position?
called my old boss.
No way.
And he's such a great guy. He said, yeah, come back to work anytime. So I worked for him by the hour for a little bit. And then he started passing some jobs to me. And then I just never looked back. I just got busy right away.
Based on word of mouth marketing, like what we were talking about before we jumped on it, right?
It takes time, right? Like, it was 2 or 3 years of, work, not work, work, not work.
Yeah.
But I really got lucky that first year too. I got a contract where I charged by the hour. It was a big house that they were building in Pump Hill.
Yep.
And it was just so ideal. I just had to show up and do a good job. And it was very secure.
Yep.
And then during that time I could, reach out to other builders and it just happened.
It was a process though, right? Just like
well, I'm not a business guy either, right? Like learning all that stuff, and it's like, oh, it's so boring. Like doing paperwork, even now, once a month, I'll force myself, like tie yourself to the desk, and do your damn paperwork. Get rid of that pile of shit on the floor and the desk.
What is it about that? What is it about you that needs to be moving, like in space?
I don't know. Like a shark, is it a shark that has to keep moving?
Yeah. But you've been like that.
Yeah.
Since you were...
It's not, I can relax for sure, but I just like to do stuff.
Go.
Summer times are great. I'm a summer guy.
Yep.
I get outside at 6:30 in the morning, and I don't go until late, like after dark, right? Because it's it just feels good. You've been to my place, like
totally.
It's such a sanctuary.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. It's a really nice.
Yep.
It's a really nice setup.
So we start weaving in this like passion for food. I'm very curious. Like we talked about the Sunday lunches, and that makes a lot of sense. But as you get older, you're going to school, you're starting your business, you got a family. Where does food fit in along the way here?
Oh, food. How does life fit in with the food? Is the question. You know what I mean?
But this is
the food is there.
I agree.
It's just there all the time, right?
Yeah.
And
but different, right? Food's around for me, but what was it? What was actually? How important was it as you were kind of growing up?
Yeah, really important. Yeah. Like it was like if you didn't work, you didn't eat. If you didn't prepare something, you didn't eat. Not that I was doing the preparation, but they were just all about making stuff, growing stuff. We had 3 lots. We had our house in the middle.
Yep.
We had our little farm in the city, but we had 3 city lots. They rented out the houses on the side, but we had all garden in the back, like hundreds and hundreds of tomato plants and pepper plants and like everything you can imagine. So in the fall, like it was like processing hundreds of jars of tomatoes to get sauce for the winter time, right? And just digging and like, I mean, I didn't like it when I was a kid, you know.
But now when you think back, you're like,
but you just learn these skills, right?
Yeah.
And making wine, everything was making it. It was making cheese and making pasta and making bread. It was, it's just, and that stuff, you don't like doing it because you're a lazy kid.
Yeah.
But you sure enjoy eating it, you know what I mean? And drinking and making wine was so much fun. We used to I joke too, we didn't have pets unless you could eat them when they were big, right? Like we had like rabbits and, the odd lamb and stuff like that. Saturday they would buy a lamb or a pig and butcher it. And then Sunday would be a picnic at the lake. And butchering is not so fun. It's pretty nasty, but, and again, I didn't do that, but I had to be around and listen to it. It was pretty awful.
Yeah, it'll haunt you, I'm sure.
But, the next day you had a big barbecue. All the Italian families would drive out to the lake, and it was a good time.
It was like culture around food.
Yeah,
like it was just...
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's fun.
And then as you're growing up, it's obviously a giant piece of your world, right? Giant farm. As you move away and start doing your own thing, how does it occupy space in your world? Are you consciously making things? Like, how does this all,
for sure.
How does it all fit?
As soon as when I left my parents' home, I've had a garden in every house I've lived in.
No way.
Since I left. Like, that's one of the first things I would do. And not like I was right into gardening, but it was just around. And first thing I would do is dig up a little patch of soil and start planting shit.
No way.
And Yeah, it's just like it's in you, right? Like you,
Yeah.
you want that stuff. You
Yeah.
remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, yeah, I have gardens now. It's like it's great, and I like making wine. It's just stuff you wanna. They're traditions, you know,
Yeah.
and it tastes great, and it makes you feel good when you grow stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if you can walk into your garden with a bowl and come out with kind of a meal in your bowl, that's a special feeling. That's nice.
Way different.
Yeah, yeah.
So the food thing, is it an experience you had that you decide you kept? You know, it was close to your heart. You wanted to do these things. Is it just a traditional thing? Does it, did your parents get it from somewhere? Then your parents have it and they give it to you, and then it just keeps on going down the path and to your kids? Like,
Yeah, for them, it was just part of their life. Like that was just,
yeah.
that's how you survived.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. I can buy everything at the store. I don't have to make anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have to go to the store, just dial it up and you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
But what is that? Like, I mean, it's fine for people,
Yeah.
but it's not fine for me. Like
Yeah.
I still enjoy making bread. I started making bread when I was, 19 or 20 years old. Well, no, yeah, about 20. It's funny, my son, who is 22 now, started baking bread at home. He has a little apartment and he's sending me pictures of bread that he's been
No
making.
way.
I'm like, well, I didn't give him a recipe even.
It's in them.
Yeah, he just wants to do it because now he's not living at home.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't get pizzas often or bread as often.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, it's just in you, right?
Mm-hmm. Are you a good cook? Besides pizzas, are you a good cook?
Yeah,
Like
not
you're
too
like,
bad.
You
Yeah,
can
it's
figure
pretty
it out.
simple food that
Yeah.
I make mostly, yeah, but it's fun.
Where did you hone that skill? Is that do you actually sit? Are you standing beside your mom in the kitchen on this little, like I'm picturing this crazy thing on a little step ladder and just watching, you're like, all these like cliche things. Like I sound like an idiot, but like, how do you learn these things?
Again, well, like a lot of times you're forced to, right? Because, you're a kid, you're just lazy. You want to watch TV and go and play with your friends and stuff like that. But they force you to do it, right? And so that's kind of how we learned, really. It's not as romantic as you might be imagining. We had to do stuff. That was all there,
That's it.
You have to go turn over the soil in the garden. You have to pick tomatoes. You have to cover them in the fall when you're going to get frost. And it was stuff you had to do. And I was like, ugh. But I'm glad we did,
Because now
you have that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you love it. Like, try and find someone in the Savino family, like in the spring when it's time to start planting a garden. Try to get someone on the phone. You can't, because we're all out in our gardens doing the same thing.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
So how does this pizza idea, where does this come from?
Well, in 2006, I took my first trip to Italy as an adult.
Okay.
And
what was the drive to go? Was it to just go experience it? Did you want to go research anything like family stuff, or do you just want to go?
Yeah. I still had relatives there.
Okay.
Hadn't been since I was a kid.
Yep.
And I mean, I love all things Italian, so it just made sense. I wanted to go back and visit my parents' hometown. I went for 6 weeks. Like 3 weeks I'd spend on and off with relatives, and then another 3 weeks just doing whatever I wanted.
Bounce it around.
Was amazing. Yeah.
Yep.
And I had a cousin that lived in Naples, so I arranged to land in Naples. Hadn't seen them since I didn't even remember them.
Well, I was going to say, and you just family's so connected.
Well,
Cousin
connected,
of cousin
no.
of, but like,
Yeah, like we're blood.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
it.
all that mattered.
Yeah.
I hadn't talked to these people ever in my life.
but they were totally.
Oh my God, they were at the airport waiting for me. Like we went straight to their house. I slept for 18 hours, I think. Woke up and I'm like, okay, let's hit the street. And it's your blood, so they just treat you like gold. Really, really nice.
And you get to see, Italy in like the most authentic way
Yeah.
possible, right?
Yeah,
You're not
like you get to go to the restaurants that they'll go to, not the shit restaurants. Not shit, but
Yeah,
like the tourist restaurants.
Yep.
With all the same menu. Beautiful meals in-house and then at places. But Naples, I'd never been, or maybe I had. I don't know. I don't remember. But just such an exciting city. Like, you feel like you're electrically charged when you're there, right? Like, my cousin took me down. She said, "What do you want to do today?" I said, "Well, just take me downtown. I just want to walk around and see." I'm a walker. I love walking. So she's like, "Are you sure?" Like, I don't know if you know anything about Naples, but
I know nothing. I know nothing, dude.
It's a dirty, dangerous city.
Okay.
But the culinary there is like is amazing. Everything is amazing there. The food is the best I've had in anywhere ever, I think. Like the gelato shops and the pastry shops and then I didn't even really know about Neapolitan pizza until I got there.
Did you know how good the food was there before you got there?
No.
Okay.
No idea. And the coffee, I was just like hopped up on gelato, coffee, and pastries the whole time.
How good is life?
Oh my God. There was no self-control at all.
Yeah.
You just went for it.
Yeah.
But you hit that street, and I remember being dropped off, and all these people, like it's bumper to bumper. You know, there's the odds, traffic light and stuff like that. A red light is basically a suggestion, stop maybe, but if there's room to go, you go. People are just weaving in between bumpers like 3 inches here. But man, it works. Like I don't recall hearing a siren ever. You go to New York City and it's sirens the entire time, right? Yep. And horns. But it just flows. It's an amazing place. I love that place. And then seeing the pizzerias and the wood-fired ovens and stuff like that.
That was your first kind of experience with that kind of style of pizza?
The first meal I had in Naples was, we went to my cousin's. Her husband came back with a bunch of pizzas. And so we started eating and we're chatting and stuff. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I eating here? I've never had pizza like this before. Like we had our own style of pizza in Saskatoon, like that my mom made, but it was different than this.
Yep.
So that's kind of where that started.
And was that and timeline, whatever. Did you know the effect it was going to have on you, or was that at the start of the trip and then you just kind of, as you work through the rest of your trip, you're like thinking about things, you're trying to experience things? What were you doing?
Yeah, no, I was just experiencing. Like that was great, but when I got home from that trip, I built a pizza oven pretty well as soon as I got home. Like just a very crude one. You know, I built it in a day. It wasn't finished or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it made pizzas, and it worked.
And you had the skill to do it yourself, right?
To build it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You literally had all the tools, and all the knowledge.
Like I said, I built it in a day, Jeff. It was pretty quick. I was just more wanting to make pizza than wanting to build a fancy oven, right?
Yeah.
And I started making dough and experimenting with that. And then I didn't go back to Italy until 2011. And at that point I had in mind, like, this is cool. Like, I like this. This is fun. This is something I could do. If I wasn't doing masonry, this is something else I could do, because number one, I need to work for myself. I don't want to work for anybody, as we were talking. And
did you think that those 5 years, the first time you're in Italy, you come home, build an oven, trying to perfect things or figures, then you go back in 2011. Then what happens when you're there? Are you touring around the same places, same family?
So similar, yeah. Again, 6 weeks, about split the time between relatives and stuff like that. But that trip was I was going to buy a property there. Like, I was going to buy a property for my family, because I wanted to start going back a little more and introducing my kids there. And
what was it? What was the drive to go back? What was all? You're older all of a sudden, and all of a sudden you got this bug to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a pull back there. That's where your roots are, Like, I just, whenever I'm there, I just feel really, really good. Like, it's hard to explain. It's a very romantic place.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Like the architecture, of course, being a stonemason, like, I just walk around with my jaw on the ground because, no power tools, no nothing, no equipment, just like manpower and skill. Yeah. And love, really, for what these guys were doing. Like, it's amazing. Like, it's manual labor, right? Like, it's just
to the extreme, though.
Yeah. Like you're almost
how many stories you got to go up, like
slave labor, right? Yeah. But it's skilled. Like, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to do that kind of thing, you have to love it, right? Like, as a stonemason, I would have kids coming all the time saying, "Oh, teach me how to do stone. Teach me how to do stone." I'm like, no. The ones that come back and bug you, you'll teach them. Yeah. But none of them ever made it, because it just has to be in you. You have to really, really love doing it. Yeah.
So you go back in 2011, thinking about buying something.
Yeah. I just about pulled the trigger, and I'm glad I didn't, because we ended up separating that year. Okay. So that would have been, a messy thing to sort out, right?
Yeah.
So something was telling me that
Yep.
Just cool your jets a little bit and
Yep.
Don't buy anything yet. I did find of all the places that I visited, though, I found a place in my parents' hometown. I just felt the best there. You know, it was such a nice little spot
Yep.
right in the town, and
Just connected. It's just like everything just felt right.
yeah. Like I had old relatives there. They said, "Oh, well, you know, we'll go in there once a month, open it up, and you won't have to worry about a thing." And but I thought, well, just wait. And I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
So
It worked out well. Then what happens? 2011, you kind of come back from that trip, and what are you thinking?
yeah. Well, life changed after that. Business started to slow down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the natural gas industry was in the toilet, and people weren't spending money on stone on the houses anymore.
Yep.
And so
What kind of stuff were you doing in houses? Sorry, were you doing like inside fireplaces? Were you like,
everything? If it was set in mortar, I was doing it. Like,
Yeah.
but natural stone, like
Yep.
full bed. You know. And things were shifting too, like fake stone
right?
and thin veneer stones, and like I'm just a miserable
Yeah.
person if I have to do that, and I don't have to do that. I'm not. I won't
Yep.
really do it. I've done some of it, and I just don't. There's no pleasure in that for me because it's just like it's just temporary. You know, you
Yep.
just stick it on, and it ends up in the garbage in 10 or 15 years, and
Yep.
that's completely what stone is not. So I thought, well, I better start thinking about doing something else.
Yep.
Because I can't force people to put a proper
It's expensive, right?
thing on. Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
people
it's
that were putting
expensive.
up the real stone, they were living in some fancy spots. and
Yeah,
the
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because it's good. It's a good product. It
It
lasts a long
lasts.
time.
Yeah.
It looks better with
Do it
age.
once,
if it's, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So then I started to think about the pizza and started to think about, well, would you open a restaurant? Would you open a bakery? Would you open... then I thought about the food truck because that was the thing
Yep.
that had the food truck scene in this city.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to go with the food truck.
Yep. Were you picking away at? Were you still like honing your craft in the pizza world over all these years? Like, do you still
No.
did you have that oven? You're still using it, or was that just kind of?
Oh, that was just like making pizza for your family and friends is one thing, but making it, fast, having to do 150 pizzas
Yep.
in a couple hours is that's a performance. Like that's a lot of work. You got to know what you're doing.
Were you refining your recipes though over all the years? When you decide?
No, I ended up doing. I went to a cooking school.
Okay.
They were based out of Naples, but you could go to school in Naples to make this style of pizza,
Okay.
or they had a school in California, in Los Angeles. So I went down there.
This is all the decision. You're like, I'm going to start a food truck. Now I'm going to figure out how to do this. And you went to school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I had designed the truck already and was starting to, figure out what kind of equipment I
Yep.
was going to use.
Yep.
And then I went down to that school. One of the best weeks of my life. The most fun I've had. Like you're cooking. Like it was pretty chill. There was 3 students in the class, 2 teachers, and there were just people coming by all the time. We were making pizzas all day, so I don't know who these people were. Even just friends of the owners of the school, the
Yep.
teachers. And yeah, I was meeting people and you're chatting and you're feeding them the pizzas that you're practicing making. I got to learn how to surf. I got to surf that weekend. It's like, come before school. They'll go like 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll go surf. I'm like, hell yeah. I've never surfed before. I'm from Saskatchewan. So that was a good time. That was a really fun week. And I learned a lot,
Just the basics. Just how to like.
The recipes,
Yep.
the way you open it up,
Yep.
the different products that you need to use. And
Yep.
like pizza in Naples, it's regulated, right? Like there's,
No way.
oh yeah, they're very serious about it. Like what is it called? The AVPN. It's these associations where they monitor. And you like,
So I started a restaurant.
yeah,
I need to then conform to these like.
you don't have
set
to,
of
but if you're
standards?
going to have this designation on your restaurant
which
as
means-
a proper restaurant, making the proper style of pizza, you have to follow these
Oh, no way.
rules. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like dead serious.
Oh, they're very serious. Like you've heard of DOP, right?
Yep.
That's the designation. Like you can have a DOP cheese, wine, pretty much almost like anything really. And there's DOP pizza, right? If it's made this certain way, you get this designation.
No way.
Yeah. So my pizza's more or less like that. But I don't care about the designation. I'm just making this pizza because now I've changed it and modified it to because for the products that are available to us,
Yep.
you know, I tried using everything from Italy in the beginning, and like, you know, some stuff from there just isn't as good because sometimes it's old, sometimes it's been sitting on a ship for too long, or so. Just trying to get stuff a little closer to home has worked out pretty good. Anyway, yeah, they were very serious.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, like when I get customers coming that have been in Naples or from Naples, and now they just come and they're like, it just takes them back, you know. And same with me, when I just have a margarita at home, it's like I'm in Naples. It feels that taste and the flavor and the smell. It's special. Yeah.
That again, it goes back to that smell, right? Like that smell on Sundays.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like it's just
Yeah.
instant flashbacks. Like you're just. Is it a slow, like when you're eating your like it's just nice to like
How do you describe it? Like you know Serafina, my daughter.
Yep.
How many times in a night we sit there and we go, oh, you know, like 10 times in a night.
No
you just can't
way.
even, you just can't get enough of it. You know, people say, oh, did you get sick of it? Do you get sick of it? And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily eat a whole pizza every night, but I'll have one or a couple of bites, or we'll share one, because you just
How
have
can you
to.
not?
Yeah.
Because what is that connection? That like, you know, it's all these senses. Obviously, it's connecting to your like soul of who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you can't find that anywhere in many professions, can you? Like, it's such a unique thing that you have going on.
Yeah.
And now that I understand about the history of it and like the designate, like it's just you're playing at a very different level,
Smells
right?
and flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the biggest takeaway from that school? Would you learn from there? You're like, okay, now I got this. Now I know what I'm going to do.
I kind of learned how important it is to make that style of pizza. Like these guys they were funny. Like I had brought the layout for my, my little pizzeria, right?
Yep.
And I showed them the equipment that I wanted to buy, and the oven that was available to me to purchase here in Calgary was made in Milan. And the guy goes, you're going to buy an oven made in Milan to make Neapolitan style pizza? And he just looked at me like he was ready to smack me in the side of the head, right? He's like, what, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So that was great because they put me onto all the good equipment that I needed.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting all that stuff from Italy. And basically I've got a little Neapolitan pizzeria kitchen in that trailer. Yeah. All those 3 pieces of equipment, the prep table, the mixer, and the oven. That's all you need. That's to do it right.
So what happens when you come home? Where does the story get going here?
After that trip to Italy?
Yeah. So you come home and do what?
Oh, I started designing.
Yep.
Making more pizza.
Yep.
And then just lots of research, like lots and lots of research, because, you know, it's a new business too. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to do a truck, restaurant?
Yep.
So that was 2011. I opened up in the spring of 2014. So it was a few years.
Oh, wow. You were like really perfecting this.
Yeah, because I'm not a restaurateur. I've worked in restaurants like twice in my life.
Yep.
I'm a stonemason.
Yep.
I cook for fun and for my family. So I didn't want to screw up because, you know, it's an investment. And, who wants to start a business and screw up? So you know how it is. The more you plan, the better. And it paid off because I've changed very little in that.
No way.
In that trailer. I've got all the same equipment. I bought the best equipment I could buy.
Do it once and then you're done with it.
Yeah, like I haven't had to replace anything. The same fridges, the oven is just cranking. Everything is just good. It's a really good system.
When you're doing your kind of R&D for those years, are you looking for that feeling where you can like smell it and like taste it and you're like, this is it? Like, are you chasing that feeling that you get when you're experiencing pizza?
Yeah. Like the more you, like all the research, like researching pizza schools, even you would be shocked at how many pizza schools there are.
No way.
Right? Yeah. It's crazy. Like, well, pick any topic that.
Yeah, true.
You know, there's a world for everything, right? And you can take courses and get certifications and spend money on gear and whatever. So I think I found the right place.
Yep.
That taught me the right things.
And then your recipe that you just started developing, you're literally cooking at home and like making the world salad.
Well, I trashed my recipe and started using their recipe, and then over the years just tweaking that because our, you know, Naples is at sea level and, you know, ridiculously hot and humid.
Yep.
we're pretty much the exact opposite that, right?
Cold and desert.
So I was like, what's wrong with my dough? It's not behaving the same as it was in California, you know?
Yeah.
So that was live and learn, but well, you've had it. I think I've tweaked it, and I still play around with it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's not a lot that you want to do right now.
Simple. Simple.
Very simple, yeah.
So 2014, you turned this thing on?
Yeah. Yeah, started doing events. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was so slow. I remember getting slammed. I went to CP Rail, served lunch there, served like 120 pizzas, and it was a disaster. It was such a disaster. You know,
Were you solo or who was with you?
Yeah, who was with me?
Just had you did have somebody helping you?
Yeah, I had two people with me.
Okay.
That also didn't know what they were doing. I'm the only one that could make and bake, so I had to make everything, bake everything. So like people were waiting like an hour, longer even, you know. And there were grumpy people down there too.
Yeah.
That day I don't blame them, but yeah, it was rough. That was a rough day because I had no idea how busy it was going to be.
Yeah, like you said, like messing around for families and friends and at home to all of a sudden scaling the thing to 120.
And that was like the second month that I had it right. I had been going around. I was just kind of going rogue, you know. I'd go park in parks and sometimes at the side of a road. You know, I didn't care if I even got a lot of business. I just wanted to see how everything was working, right?
Yep.
And then you just got better and better. There were a lot of sleepless nights too because I was working way too hard for what I was doing, like getting up at 5 and making dough, and they were long days. And then so you're sleep deprived, and then you get home, you start opening up mail, and the bills are coming in. I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? I made $75 today.
But that was a reality for a little while.
Yeah. That like first 4 or 5 months. That first season was pretty tough. It still ended up okay.
Yep.
But it was some pretty scary moments.
What did you just trust that you were on the right path?
People loved. This is the coolest thing. Like, okay, I wasn't making money. That's fine. But people were coming back. They would come back after 20 minutes, after an hour, sometimes, to say, "Wow, I've never had pizza like that. That was freaking amazing." Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I got something at least. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with business and all that and where to go. Yeah. But I can make good pizza. People are really liking, because it would not suck, you know, if you you did something and nobody wants it. Like, oh, that's not very good. Yeah. Or why would you open another pizzeria if it's just another pizzeria serving the same old? Yep. So that's kind of what kept me going. But is the people's faces when they were coming back and they're like, wow, like a little bit obsessed, like, wow, I'll take another. I'd like to take a couple home for my wife and kids. Awesome. Yeah. So that was kind of what the energy that you needed to kind of get you through that. Yeah. Thank goodness for those nice people that came back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what changes, you know, after the first 4, 5, 6 months, what gets you going? Is there a tipping point, or is it just like this constant taking the... Just keep learning. You just keep learning. Every time you make dough, something's different. Dough is like it's alive. You know, it's never the same way twice. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's close, but the temperature outside, you know, the season. Yeah. Food truck season is pretty short too, right? Like May till October, and then you're done, and then it's back to, you know, laying stone and brick and stuff like that. That was your cycle for years. Yeah. So where are we now? If this thing starts in 2014, some dark days. What's the like tipping point where you're like, okay, I kind of like... I don't know. It just got better and better, Jeff. Just like every summer, build, hey? Yeah, a good reputation. It was good food. Yep. And then I got more requests for catering. Mm-hmm. Catering's great. I stopped doing festivals and things like that. Yep. Because I never really did very well at those. Like sometimes I did, but people just want fries and burgers and stuff like that. Yep. You know. And so I stopped doing those and just catered like parties and anniversaries, weddings, lots of weddings. Lots of young people like having food trucks at their weddings. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. Everybody likes walking up to a food truck and ordering up whatever, you know. And like we were saying before, I mean, it's a good business. Like you're just, instead of being around a bunch of disgusting construction workers, you're feeding a bunch of happy people, you know, some good food. Yeah. And it's just, it's rewarding. Yeah. You know, to have that, to still have those moments where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Well, and people like the way it's designed, people look inside and they can see the forno, they can see the fire. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, is that gas?" And I'm like, "No, applewood." And they're like, "Wow!" It just blows their mind, right?
Yeah, there's a story behind it
because it's different.
Yeah.
And that's what people want. They want an experience.
Did you know that building it out, to go to like I guess there's no option. If you're going for like this true style of pizza, you can't have it like gas fed or whatever. You need it to have like a wood burning.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
Some people can hack it and do like.
Oh yeah. Well, like most of the places in town, they if they have fornos, they're gas, right? Because wood's a pain in the ass getting it and using it and training people to use it. So it's much easier, but it's not the same. Like it's not the same product.
Yeah,
you can tell right away.
Yeah,
that they're different. No, for me, I had to do it like that because that's just the way I am. I didn't have to, but yeah, I do have to.
So the progression, you do it for a while, and then when does your daughter start like entering the picture here? How does she start showing up into the scene?
Oh well, the kids have always helped me like since they were. Yeah, like 12, 13 at various ages. It was free labor, give them pizza, Nutella dessert pizza.
Yeah.
They're happy. Now, I paid them sometimes, but not all the time. And then, the year of, well, it's very handy to have them.
Yeah.
Kids, right? Like, why not?
Well, you experienced it, right?
Yeah.
You know exactly how to.
And they were the same. Like sometimes they're like, and it's like, well, too bad. Like, I need your help. I need help. And there's no one else, And so they learned a lot along the way. My son Nick, is a really good cook, but he doesn't make them. Yeah. Serafina she does it all. She's actually, I got to have a night off a couple of weeks ago.
No way.
On a Thursday night, can be quieter on Thursday. Yeah. So my other daughter, Isabella, came and took the orders. And then Serafina made the pizzas and baked them.
Wow.
And they did good. It was, it worked out.
That's cool.
So it was nice.
Do they, the passion that you have, like just around food and
yes,
the culture?
They have it.
They have it?
Yeah.
It's in them?
Yeah. Yeah. As they, like a couple of them have moved out now.
Yep.
But they've got that. Like they cook. They know how important food is to their health and happiness. And
it's not even, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't actually sit them down and educate them around this stuff, right? They're just experiencing it.
Just a lot of barking. Yeah, a lot of barking. Because there's nothing worse than someone that goes like this.
Yeah, that's your blood just goes. Tick, tick, tick.
Oh yeah.
There's the mad Italian bricklayer.
Yeah. That's not going to leave my soul anytime soon.
Do you now that you have this, are you still doing the masonry work?
Yeah,
just like
less
special projects, or just like
I get to pick and choose a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's just not that much of it out there. The kind of stuff I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not a lost art, but it's a.
Yeah, it will be.
It takes a very unique customer to actually want that kind of craftsmanship.
Yeah. When I came here, that's why I moved here, because that's all we were doing. It was great. Like,
because it was going off
so much
out west.
Yeah. But now it's like it's fake stone, thin stone, and that's just the job.
Yeah.
Like, great, you do it, and you're happy doing it, fine. Yeah. But I could go stock shelves at Costco, or do that. Like, there's no satisfaction in that.
Yeah, for sure. The you touched on it earlier, the idea of having a garden wherever you went. Explain to the people that are listening what your garden actually is right now, and what it looks like, how important it is, and the amount of manpower it takes to kind of manage it.
Oh, it's just pure joy when I walk out my back door in the morning. That's where I start every day. Yeah, is out in that garden. With a cup of coffee, walking around, talk to the plants a little bit, see how things are going.
And explain it. It's like a tiered kind of garden. So.
Oh yeah, well the vegetable garden's on one side, and then the flower and rock garden is on the other side. It's pretty wild. It just does its own thing in there for the most part. I throw a few different things in there every year, but I don't really care. It's just wild. Yeah. But the vegetable garden's great. Like, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, all the herbs, lots of lettuce.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to do very much shopping in the summer months, which is really nice for fresh stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then anything I can grow, like some people think I grow all my stuff. I can't. I live in the city, for God's sake. Like I use, 100 cases of tomatoes every year.
Yeah.
I can't grow that many tomatoes. I don't want to grow that tomatoes. No, that sounds like work.
You know how much work that really is.
No. But like having the fresh herbs and like basil, I grow tons and tons of basil because I use a lot of that on the pizza, and it's really nice. Like, I don't think people know how lucky they are sometimes to get what they're getting. Like, if I need more basil, I can just go pick it. If I run out of tomatoes from the store, I can go pick them and throw them on the pizza. And that's not all the time, but it's just nice. For myself, it's a nice feeling to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's way different, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that was going to be your move when you started this? You were going to start your own garden and grow your own stuff to use on the pizza?
Well, I've always had the garden, so it's just like a backup.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my intention is to expand my garden. Like, I took out my lawn a couple of years ago in the front. I'm just waiting for it to decompose, and then I'll start planting stuff. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what.
Yeah.
But
something's going.
Yeah, grass is stupid. So yeah.
When you look back on all this and you see where you're at right now, and obviously a big part of your world is around food, and obviously the stone and the masonry work, like, does it all make sense to you? Like, how you grew up, your heritage, like, does it all like make a lot of sense?
Like it's just a nice life. I got these two things that I really love to do. And I think, like, if more people had that, they would have a lot more happy people around. Like, I'm not living a huge, large life where I'm making a massive impact on the world, but, I'm doing something that makes me happy. I do things for others when you can.
Yeah.
But, like, how they say, like, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. That's true. You got to be healthy. You got to be strong and happy.
Yeah.
And then you can do some good.
It's rare though, isn't it? To have two things that you love doing.
I'm super lucky, and I'm not getting rich. Like, I'm not, I'm going to be making pizza for a long time, right? Like, if I was to go back 100% to masonry, I could retire a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But because I can't do exactly what I want to do with that, then I'm not doing it. I'll make pizza. I don't care.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's nice. It affords me a nice lifestyle and lots of free time because the pizzeria's got pretty minimal hours.
Yeah.
Only, 20 people in the city know about it. So what do I care? Just flying low.
Yeah, totally. Keep it on the DL. That, do you spend much time thinking about that? How lucky you are to have these two passions? Like,
every day.
It occupies thought. Like,
I'm
guessing when you walk out, you open the back door, you're like,
yeah, absolutely. Every day.
And
then I do think about, like, what do you want to do? You want to keep doing this? Or I've had 3 restaurant deals that places that I was supposed to open, they all fell through. The last one was just before COVID, thank goodness. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
And so I always keep my eyes open. Like, I'm not going to chase anything. If the right thing comes along, I would open up a very small place. I'd open it up with Serafina if that was to work out. We work really well together. And but we'll see. Like, who knows? It's hard to. This city's tough for finding a good spot for a reasonable price.
Yeah.
And again, like, I don't know how hard I want to work. Right.
If you got a sweet spot right now.
I do.
Yeah.
So,
this has been really cool. It's really cool to hear your story.
Oh, thanks, man.
Just because, you and I we cross paths like on Fridays or Saturday nights, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Hey, how's it going? And I don't know the full story, so to actually have the background now, it just makes so much sense to actually what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
I wanted to ask you one question. How come there's no face on Jeff Humphreys on your thing?
Like the faceless thing?
Yeah.
So my good friend Rob Sawchuk, super talented designer, has a music store and merchandise store out in Bragg Creek. He's the one that designed this. He hand drew all the lines in my hair. Like, he literally, like, and
that would take a while.
Oh, it's crazy. And he sent it over to me. And the first, he only sent me one design. And I sat with it and I was like, what if, doesn't it need a face or something or something? He's like, I don't know. He said, it's just something different.
Yeah.
And I trust his creativity, and I trust his design at a totally different level. I'm like, fine, done.
Yeah.
So, And then, it's funny when you think about Breaking Bad, right? He had that main character had glasses with the kind of silhouette of his head.
Yeah.
So they put glasses on him. And it's like, oh, okay, then
Yeah.
this is just a little more abstract. It's just something a little bit different. And I don't know. And it stuck right away.
Oh, I like it. It's cool.
It is. When I gave him the ideas for the brand, I gave him a few like images that I had found, some illustrations. I'm like, something like this. And he came back like not even close to anything that I thought that he should do. And he came back with this. Yeah. And I was, like I said, he is so talented that there's no way I was going to say, can you get me another design? Like I wasn't going to do it. So
yeah,
we just stuck with it.
Nice.
One design and done.
Nice.
Which is great. And
maybe once in a while you can like fill it in with something like
Christmas.
What's going on?
I throw like a toucan on the illustration.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, totally, right? And so if
you start smoking, you can put a cigarette in his mouth.
And I have Italian blood running through my veins too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So my mom's maiden name is Bombadiri. And so that's where these curls come from. Oh. So as long as the blood still like pumps
those
through.
Those curls come from North Africa, by
the way. my grandpa, he looked like Kramer.
Oh my God.
At like 80, full head of hair, like tight little curls some days, like just like gray, thick, brown.
Yeah.
So as long as the blood still goes through me and I get to keep this, then this is still relevant. Yeah. The minute it's not, there's going to be like a hat on here. So the way I end this show is I ask the guest one question. When I say Calgary, where's your head go?
Well, Calgary's home now. Like my family's here. My children are here, and Calgary. I hate the winters here. Yeah. I'm not a winter guy.
Yep.
I love summer. Mm-hmm. But I'll be here a long time. It's a good city. Yep. We're close to nature. We have everything we want. It's a nice, safe city. Like, what more do you want?
Yep.
I think about that, right? Like, where would you be happy, right? But you can be happy anywhere. Like, come on. If you can't be happy here, what? Mm-hmm. It's a good place. Look at the world around us. Like, it's crazy out there. Yeah. This is nice here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, man, it's been, there's a couple of people that I obviously need to send this to right away. Like I told you off camera, the guys in the hockey dressing room were like, they were talking about Savino. I was like, yeah, no shit, I know the guy too. So anyways, this is, I'm glad you said yes and shared your story because it's really cool to hear.
Thanks, man. It's been fun, doing there's no preparation for something like this, but reminiscing and just thinking about the last 20, 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah. And what's, the more people I have that I get to talk to, it seems like when you get to a certain point in your life, you get to start looking back on things and understanding like how they're all connected and how it's all woven together.
Yeah. And
this environment, it just provides like an interesting time to actually think about it.
Yeah.
And for me, I hadn't really thought about all these things ever, like how am I 20 years before I started doing this, how it's all connected. Yeah. So it's a unique kind of environment, actually.
You're a lucky guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to do this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Which is like, that Calgary question, again, it goes back to Rob, my buddy. I had him, he was number one on the show. Yeah. He's like, you need something to kind of end it. Yeah. I was like, okay. He's like, what about asking a Calgary question? I was like, fucking done. Yeah. And now it's just, every time I ask it, I'd love hearing it because Calgary's everything to me, right? Yeah. That's why you said I'm
You were
lucky.
born here, right?
Born and raised.
Yeah.
That's why I'm lucky to do this, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. It's all because of this city, right? Being born and raised here, having a great network of family and friends lets you kind of spin this idea up and then it just kind of builds momentum and away you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucky.
Cool, man.
Yep. Thanks again for your time.
All right, let's have some cannoli.
Yes, done deal.